pandemic continues to evolve, and we're trying to evolve with it, and appreciate everyone being safe. Just a quick overview of the agenda. We're going to do our update on COVID-19. That'll include updates on case rates as well as vaccination rates. We'll provide an update on our American Rescue Plan funding related to COVID recovery. We'll cover our COMPSTAT, weekly COMPSTAT crime data report, as well as a recent report we received from the New York State Department of Criminal Justice on firearm-related crime. We will talk about the City Hall Commons RFP. Of course, the news in Albany this week, and our soon-to-be new governor, Lieutenant Governor Kathy Hochul. And we will talk about some new leadership here in City Hall with our Cityline team. So let's jump into the COVID data. So cases, right now, City of Syracuse is at 105 active cases. If you look back just a month ago, we were at 50, so we've more than doubled. When you look at that within the broader context of what's happening around the country, there's real reasons to be concerned, especially as we learn more about the Delta variant and its ability to break through and infect vaccinated people, not to mention the significant number of unvaccinated people that remain. So we're concerned. We're keeping our eye on the data, but currently actually as of August 10th, we're at 105 cases citywide. Still relatively low, but again, not headed in the right direction. As for city vaccination rates, also relatively low, but headed in the right direction. As of today, we are at 57.2% of our adult population with at least one dose of the vaccine. That continues to lag behind the county average. We know we have difficult to reach populations. We have significant vaccine hesitancy, and we need to continue to work on this number. Again, broader context of what's happening in the rest of the country, the areas that have lower vaccination rates are dealing with more significant spread, not to mention worse conditions for those that are contracting the virus. So this is something that we need to continue to focus on. I think especially in light of the data that we're seeing on the Delta variant, we also have to remember that there is still a significant portion of our population that isn't eligible to be vaccinated. I'm reminded of that every day when I go home to my two daughters, both of whom are under 12. And we know with the Delta variant, we have even as a vaccinated person, you have the ability to transmit COVID to the unvaccinated population. So if for no other reason, please get vaccinated for our children. They are vulnerable. Recommending everyone wear masks in city buildings. Everyone has been very compliant with that, which we appreciate. We're currently in discussions with our labor leaders about our policy for vaccinations for city staff, as well as our testing policy, and we do expect to have some news to share shortly on that, but want to make sure that our labor leaders are on board and we're all working in the same direction. On that note, I do want to applaud the Syracuse City School District, Superintendent Alisea, and the school board and the Syracuse Teachers Association for their decision to require masks in city school buildings. Again, as the parent of two city school district children, I feel much better knowing that everyone is going to be masked up and that they're also going to be requiring vaccinations or testing for staff. So good job to SCSD. Last point on vaccinations, just want to highlight a few upcoming vaccine clinics. We have one coming up this Sunday at Leavenworth Park. That's part of the Family Health series. The following weekend, we have one on August 21st, and that's going to be at the Mary Nelson Backpack Giveaway. and one on August 22nd, also part of the Family Health Gathering series, and that one will be at the Thorndon Park Amphitheater. So that is in addition to, of course, the ongoing county clinics, as well as what you can get through your healthcare providers and our local pharmacies. So there are no shortage of opportunities to get vaccinated. I strongly encourage everyone to get vaccinated. Unless you have explicit guidance from your healthcare provider, you should be doing your homework and you should be getting vaccinated. So I'm going to continue to encourage that, and hopefully we'll continue to see those numbers go up. I mentioned our American Rescue Plan, or ARPA funding. We are the beneficiary of $123 million of federal relief to support and accelerate our recovery, and we are taking full advantage of that opportunity and that investment, and we are moving expeditiously to put the money where it is most needed. So to date, we have advanced more than $40 million of ARPA funding to the Common Council, nearly 30% of the overall investment. Not all of that has been acted upon by the Council. I'm confident that it will be eventually. Again, the need is great, the need is urgent, so we're going to continue to move those quickly but intentionally. That's exactly what the federal government wants us to do, and we are doing it. Some success stories coming from those investments. We know that our arts and culture institutions have been badly hurt by the pandemic and continue to be hurt by the pandemic. Certainly that is true for our beloved Landmark Theater just down the street on the 300 block of Salina Street. I have really good news to report today. As of yesterday, the Syracuse Economic Development Corporation, or SEDCO, held a loan closing with the Landmark Theater for $1.8 million bridge loan that came from our ARPA investment, and that is going to bridge long-term permanent financing for the theater on their capital improvements that they are undertaking right now, specifically the new seating and the new marquee. Very excited to see that move forward. That project remains on target to be completed this fall, and that is going to set the Landmark up to once again be hosting productions very soon. So I want to thank the Common Council for their partnership and quick action, and that is a very direct, real example of how we're putting these funds to use to support those that have been most hurt by the pandemic. Other ARPA-related funds that we are advancing this week. So Deputy Mayor was just briefing me on the council committee meetings that took place today, where we laid out our third series of ARPA investments. They include $7 million for homeowner support. That's for repairs of existing homes, as well as assistance for first-time home buyers. We are proposing to invest $2 million in a new fire training tower. The fire department has been integral to our COVID response, and we need to make sure that they continue to have the tools and the resources they need to continue to be one of the best fire departments in the entire country. I'll say the best. Little over $1 million for a pump station, the Mosley pump station in the Eastwood neighborhood. Make sure we're continuing to get water to residents, and $70,000 for an information technology investment for our minority and women-owned business enterprises, specific software B2G, which assists us with compliance and administration of our MWBE programs. We know that communities of color, including MWBEs, were disproportionately negatively impacted by the pandemic, so we're being intentional in supporting our MWBEs in the city, and this investment will help us to make sure that we're doing that effectively and efficiently. I mentioned the homeowner support, something I'm very excited about. The Deputy Mayor is very excited about, and I'm going to ask the Deputy Mayor to come up and just to share a little bit more information about what we're hoping to accomplish with that $7 million investment. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. Really excited this morning. I stood before the council with the Commissioner of Neighborhood and Business Development to present to the council $7 million of homeowner support. Through the pandemic, where people lay their heads and call home had an even more valuable meaning. Not only is it where we slept, but it was also where we worked. It was also where we played. It met our social and emotional needs, and the physical wear and tear on our properties and our homes was significant, and particularly those in our neighborhoods who have limited income to start. So what I all enthusiastically proposed to the mayor, and he was on board from the minute, is support to those homeowners. And so we proposed this morning 4 initiatives. One is $4.5 million in our urgent care program. Urgent care provides a deferred loan product up to $25,000 for pretty significant repairs to homes. We're talking about roofs, plumbing, sewer leaks, furnaces, windows that need repair, pretty significant repairs that you would need. We also proposed $1 million to continue the SHARP program, and those are the small micro grant. These are grants, micro grants, for basically exterior safety. Many porches are done, stairs are done, that type of thing. Rails may be added for security to homes. $1 million in 1% interest home improvement loans for individuals who can manage to qualify for a loan at a significantly reduced interest rate. And then $500,000 for closing cost assistance. We're building new homes, and we want to provide the assistance for first-time home buyers to be able to be a part of the American dream, which is owning your first home. All of these programs will be administered, and what we're proposing is for them to be administered by home headquarters. They have the history in providing these programs. They can get the money out of the door to the families and the households that need it. And the other thing about these programs that we're excited about is these have traditionally been funded under our HUD programming, which has a ceiling to the eligibility of 80% of the AMI. We are proposing for 3 of these programs, the SHARP program, the urgent care program, and a down payment and closing cost assistance program to go to 100% of AMI, which will make these available to so many more of our homeowners within the designated census tracts that the federal government has set. The 1% loan, we are going to even go higher to 125%. We are eager, got great feedback from the council today on this. Everyone agrees that homeowners need this support. We're going to get this money, get these contracts, get the approval from the council, get these contracts executed, get that money into the hands of people who need it to improve their homes. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Let's take a look at our crime data. So we have our weekly COMPSTAT crime report, which again is published every Tuesday on the SyracusePolice.org website. For those of you that were part of the last month's briefing, after a really challenging first half of the year, I had noted that the trend on violent crime was moving in the right direction. I'm pleased to tell you that that has continued over the past 4 weeks. So if you take a look at the numbers, violent crime a month ago was 6% over where it was last year. As of this week, it's just 1%, so that's continued to trend in the right direction. You look at the homicide rate, we are 25% below where we were last year, 15 homicides this year compared to 20 at the same time last year. And when you look at the 5-year average of 16, we're still below that 5-year average as well. So that is certainly encouraging. Overall crime is down 15% this year compared to the same time last year, and when you look at the 5-year average, down 17%. So still areas in need of focus, but again, given a really difficult first half of the year and of course last year, just a horrific year, we are trending in the right direction, and I want to make sure we acknowledge that. Just to dig down a little bit deeper, another report that we don't always have the same level of access to, but we did happen to get it this week, and so we thought it was worth sharing. Comes from the New York State Division of Criminal Justice Services, DCJS, specifically related to firearm crime activity, and it too shows a substantial reduction in Syracuse. So out of the 15 jurisdictions that they report on, only 4 communities reported a reduction in shooting incidents so far this year. Syracuse is one of those 4. And we actually had the second largest reduction, second to Albany. So that is, again, encouraging. Shooting incidents with injury are down 30% in Syracuse. And again, that is not the case with a number of other larger cities in New York. So we are standing apart in a good way there. And I want to be clear, this level of violence is completely unacceptable. We are not relieved or satisfied with these numbers. I am encouraged, but we are going to continue. I believe that the reason we're seeing better numbers is because we are fighting against violent crime and crime in general on all fronts. And that's not just limited to the Syracuse Police Department. Chief Buckner would be the first one to say that. I want to recognize our police department and our police officers for being on the front lines and helping us to address the day-to-day conditions in the city. But we know that there are many other people helping us in this fight. Everyday people, neighbors, our partners involved in on-the-street outreach related to gun violence, our teachers, our faith leaders, our parents and grandparents. This is a community problem, and we are improving through a community effort, and I'm hopeful and optimistic that will continue, but we are not going to let up. We're going to continue to push to make sure that the city is safe. Also a reminder that we are coming up on the end of the summer. It still is summertime where we typically see more incidents of violent crime. We have holidays coming up. Those tend to be challenging, so we are not letting our guard down and again, are going to continue to work on these efforts, and we need to continue to all work together. On a separate note, City Hall Commons. So this is our city-owned office building just a block away from City Hall here. And we have some big news that's been in the works for quite a while, but today marks a significant day for that beautiful historic building. We issued a request for proposals for the acquisition and redevelopment of the City Hall Commons building, which again is a Hanover Square landmark, really a landmark in the city of Syracuse, at the corner of Warren Street and East Genesee Street. It's in the traditional Flatiron style, and again, we've owned it for a number of years now and have housed many of our city departments in the building. We also, along with the RFP for acquisition of the building, issued a complimentary RFP for office space to accommodate city staff. So obviously we need to relocate the staff that is currently in the building, but the reality is we've owned the building since 1991, and historic buildings like that need a certain level of care and investment that frankly the city just has not been able to meet. And at a time when our historic buildings are seeing new lives throughout our city, we think that the time is right to get the building in the hands of someone that is capable of giving it the investment that it needs. It will help support the continued revitalization of our center city, and we think it's really the right time to get it into private hands and to get it back on the tax rolls, which is an added benefit to us. So anyone that's interested, again, either on bidding on the property or in offering the city new office space, we have our RFPs posted on our city website and encourage people to take a look. So I mentioned the big news this week. The circumstances surrounding the change in leadership in New York State couldn't have been worse. But some light in a lot of darkness is the fact that we are going to have New York's first woman as governor in Kathy Hochul, who is a friend to Syracuse, is a friend to me and an ally and a partner, somebody that has been working with me from the time I took office, going back to the very day that I was inaugurated. She was here and she's been with us ever since. As a matter of fact, right before this briefing, I was going through what I'll call my office junk drawer, where I have a lot of stuff, and I just happened to notice it was fortuitous that there was a note from the Lieutenant Governor, and I looked at it, and it was just from her last visit in town when she came to look at the Salt City Market, and included a nice personal handwritten note, and that sums up the kind of person that Lieutenant Governor, soon-to-be Governor Hochul is. She's a kind, sincere person. She is extremely smart, capable, willing and able to make difficult decisions, but also always prepared to listen and to learn. And again, I'm really happy for Lieutenant Governor Hochul. I'm happy for New York State. It gives us all something, I think, to focus on to make sure that we are moving this state forward in the face of a lot of challenges, but also a lot of opportunities. So again, congratulations to Lieutenant Governor Hochul. A little closer to home, another powerful woman in a new role here, this time in City Hall. I want to recognize Denise Moore, who is pictured in the photo behind me, as our new Cityline coordinator. So many people know that we have really invested heavily over the past 3.5 years in enhancing the city's customer service, making sure that we have the systems in place to address concerns that constituents have. Our front lines for doing that is our Cityline function, which is what Denise is overseeing. We recently, over the past year, moved Cityline from DPW into City Hall, literally across the hall from the mayor's office, to make sure that we were giving it the attention it deserved. We, of course, just recently launched our new See-Click-Fix system for Sear Cityline, where you can go download an app or go on the website and log in your service requests and complaints. And Denise there couldn't be a better person to fit that role than Denise. She's worked for the city for 15 years. Much of that time was as director of the Seals Community Center at Kirk Park, where she was beloved in the community. But that same interpersonal skill and connection that made her so good in that job, we think is really going to help her thrive and the entire Cityline team thrive in this position. So Denise loves helping people, and that's exactly what she's going to be doing in this position. So I want to congratulate her and encourage everyone to put her and the Cityline team to work. There's never been more or better ways to log your complaints, your requests, and we want to make sure people are doing that. I know I am. With that, I will open it up to questions.
I wanted to start, go back to violent crime and crime. So Congressman Katko and DA Fitzpatrick, they both criticized raise the age and bail reform as a spike in crime, which we saw in 2020, which you noted, but as you noted, those numbers have gone down since 2020. But even the police chief has stood by some of those comments that have been made. So what do you think about those laws, and do you think that they have contributed to violent crime, made it more difficult for law enforcement, and have contributed to the spike in homicides?
Sure, Tom. I'll start with the fact that I think that both of those laws were made with the very best of intentions. It should not matter how much money you have. That should not determine whether or not you are able to be free or detained in prison. So that is a significant issue that law attempted to, and in many ways was able to address. Raise the age, similarly. I made mistakes when I was young. Most of us do. All of us do. And the way that our criminal justice system has operated for many years created an environment where young people who made really bad mistakes, but mistakes nonetheless, were never given the opportunity to rehabilitate. They were incarcerated with adults, were treated as adults at a time when they shouldn't have been. So in both cases, I'm generally supportive of the intent of the laws. But I think that as we do with any change, we need to be self-reflective. We need to evaluate the data and look at where we might have gotten things wrong. I'll admit I do not, I'm not as familiar with the nuances of those laws as the district attorney or even the police chief. I do know just from my own experiences that there are that there have been certain incidents where an individual has been involved in a horrific crime, and upon looking further into the criminal history of that individual, there appear to be instances where crimes were committed that, frankly, I don't think should have resulted in those individuals ending up back on the streets and in a position to to commit more crimes. So I do think that that we need to take a look at those issues. I do respect the opinions of our law enforcement partners. They are the experts there. And again, we need to be unapologetic about the intent of these laws and what we're trying to accomplish, but also willing to, again, look in the mirror, look at what they've accomplished and address any shortcomings in them.
Mayor, the $1 million for 1% interest on the improvement loans, Sharon said will be up to 125% of median income.
Mm-hmm.
What's the selection process for those, assuming that you have applications for more than $1 million? How do you choose who gets them?
Yeah, I know it's Sharon, you want to answer? There's an application process, but please feel free to elaborate.
Thank you, Mayor. Home headquarters has been doing these loans, so they are a CDFI lending institution. So there are criteria they set by which people can be approved. So the 1% loan is a reduction in the interest rate to 1%, but it still is a loan program. The great thing about home headquarters is that they have, as being a CDFI, have set up a process that would provide loans to people who may not qualify from other banks, but there still would be a lending criteria attached to it.
And on those loans and the other housing incentives, one of the reasons why it was so easy for us to make that allocation is because in our experience, when funds are made available for those purposes, that the funding goes away very quickly. There's a high demand, and there's a direct positive impact on the community from these investments. So we're confident the funding is going to go quick.
You've got a similar program that you propose for small businesses, this revolving loan and grant fund.
Yeah.
Been held up in the council. They have a lot of questions about who will be chosen. Are you concerned about the delays on it? Are you frustrated at all with how it's going?
I'm concerned about the delays. Again, the intent of this funding is to assist in recovery. We have a lot of businesses that are still hurting from the pandemic, and so there is a great sense of urgency on behalf of the administration to get those funds out into the community. And it was one of the most effective, meaningful things we were able to do early on in the pandemic was to put resources out the door through SEDCO and SIDA. These were resources that they were already in possession of, that we put out the door in the form of low-interest loans and grants, and they were lifelines for businesses. So that's how we look at this additional funding. This is a lifeline, and so I will always respect the council's role in the process and their desire to make sure they do their due diligence. There's certainly value in that. But you have to balance that with the need and the urgency in the community, and I'm hopeful that the council will take action as soon as possible. I think we've addressed all their questions, and the time for action is now. Any other questions?
Mayor, back to the firearms-related incidents.
Yeah.
I think within this month was the gun buyback program.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that and the success that it seems to have had?
Gun buyback program was the most successful in the history of the Attorney General's office. Over 300 firearms secured, and we debated for years the value of gun buyback programs, and the research on them is somewhat inconclusive. But we felt, given the level of violence, the proliferation of guns throughout the community and the country, and frankly, the way in which the Attorney General structured the program, which was different. Not all programs are no questions asked. I think there was a certain level of credibility that the Attorney General and the program had in the community that made people feel safe enough to come in and turn in their weapons. So, to be determined as in terms of the long-term impact of that program, but by all accounts, it was a success, and it's one that I'm anxious to repeat as long as the interest continues to be there.
You mentioned you'll do soon on vaccines and masks for employees. Do you have the legal authority to require vaccines to city employees?
It's my understanding that we do, yes.
And is that what you plan to do?
We are, again, working with our labor leaders right now. So we're not at a point to make an announcement or frankly even to make a final decision until we have a labor management meeting tomorrow where we'll continue that conversation. So I absolutely want to see more employees get vaccinated. I want to see a testing regimen in place that helps us to identify where the virus is in city government and help us to stomp it out as quickly as possible. So that's the goal. But again, we're going to work collaboratively towards how we get to that goal. So not ready to make a final determination on that yet, but I expect by next week we will be.
Do you have an idea of what the vaccine rate is within city?
That's part of the problem is that we don't have comprehensive data. That'll be part of the process going forward, is to collect that more comprehensively across city government. We know some of the departments where vaccination rate is lagging just based on our early efforts. The police department has been has lagged. DPW has lagged. There are some others, but we want to make sure no matter where you work in city government, you feel safe and you're protected. And we do think that we know that getting more employees vaccinated will do that. So that we're going to put a system in place that will help there.
How many city employees are there?
It's over 2,400, give or take.
Are you concerned at all about the fair? Do you like what McMahon has done with mandating masks in buildings? But do you think, are you concerned? Do you think, are you okay with the fair even going on?
Yeah, I am concerned. I expressed those concerns to the county executive. I really appreciate the action that he took mandating masks in Fairgrounds buildings. So that's a step in the right direction. We need to continue to monitor the data, but by and large, we know that when people are outside, they're much safer. It is going to be a concern, but I think that the mask mandate inside buildings is a really positive step, and we'll continue to monitor the data, continue to keep an open line of communication with the fair and the county, and if additional measures need to be taken, we'll do that. But I think that was a really important one, and I appreciate the county executive's leadership on it.
I know there's a RFP for office space to accommodate city employees from City Hall. Do you have a timeline of when you are trying to meet the building department?
Not an exact timeline, Iris. We're ready to move, but we don't want to rush it, and we understand that it's going to be disruptive for city employees and on operations. So we want to make sure that we do it carefully and get the right. We want to have the right owner for the building. We want to have the right office space that will ensure that we can continue to deliver city services in a way that our constituents deserve. So no specific timeline, but I'm hopeful that we'll be able to move forward with it as quickly as possible.
Have you talked to the county executive about co-locating at Carnegie?
I have, yeah. We've spoken about it, for a number of years now, but recently, and I think that the general feeling is part of what influenced the process that we're undertaking is that we came to the conclusion that the Carnegie building was never going to be able to fully accommodate our office needs if we were to empty out City Hall Commons. So we felt the best way to make sure that we were accommodating all of our needs, and frankly that we were getting the best value for taxpayers is to do an RFP. That's typically how it's done. And we've told the county that they're welcome to respond to that RFP, and we're also once we see what is proposed, there still is the possibility that we could identify specific office functions that could fit in the Carnegie. I know the county executive is moving forward with the renovation of that building, and it is still an option, but it's not our only option.
Why a buy or lease?
I'm sorry?
For the new space, are you exclusively looking at lease, or is there
It would likely it'd be a lease. Yeah, I think we want to keep all of our options open, but the expectation is, again, especially in light of how we've managed, City Hall Commons, a lease is probably more likely, but we'll keep our options open.
So you mean like a lease to keep city employees at City Hall?
No, a lease of new space.
Oh, got
Yeah.
it. Okay.
Yeah.
I had a question about right to know.
Sure.
The first quarterly report came out for the police. Did you get a chance to look at that?
I haven't looked at it yet. Anything else? Okay, thanks everybody.